I'm Chef Cal, and this is my first Cal's Kitchen Facebook Live video. And the foodscape out there right now is really crazy. You can't go out to eat at your favorite restaurants. You can take out, but you can't sit in. You can't. People are stocking up like it's hurricanes coming here in Florida, or blizzards up north, and grocery stores are having a hard time keeping up with the demand. So with all of that in mind, it makes things really interesting. And when I was picking a topic for today, I thought, let's try meatballs, because meatballs are very versatile, and they're also very forgiving. So it's something that you can make that is pretty much going to come out okay. You don't have to be anxious about it. So the humble meatball has, I've kind of broken the ingredients into four main categories, and the first one being the meat. And you use ground meat, but you can use any kind of ground meat. You can use, usually I use beef. There's beef, turkey, pork, lamb, veal, buffalo, chicken. Today we're going to use ground turkey. And so one thing to keep in mind with the ground meat is that the fattier it is, the more tender your meatball is going to be. If you're using a more lean meat, you're just going to want to do things to help with the tenderness of your meatball. So that brings me to the next category of ingredients, which is your binder. And obviously, as the name implies, binders bind things together. There's kind of two binders that we use in meatballs. The first one being eggs. And for people who are vegan, or if your stores are out of eggs like ours are, and you don't have any in your refrigerator, you can leave these out. But if you have an egg, I encourage you to use one. There's just binding elements in an egg that help. The second part of the binder is called a panade. It's a mixture of a starch and a liquid. And you can, again, very versatile. Traditionally, it's breadcrumbs and milk. You can use substitutions for the milk. If you don't have milk in your refrigerator, you can use any of those variety of milk products out there now. You can use stock. You could use, you could water down cream, or half and half, or even sour cream or plain yogurt. And then I've chosen to use whole milk, and I used panko crumbs. You can use crushed crackers if all you have in the pantry is crackers. And it doesn't matter if they're seasoned or not. These are like rosemary crackers. That's just going to add some flavor to your meatball. You can also, if you have, my daughter made this sourdough yesterday, and if you have extra day-old bread or whatever, you can tear the bread up, or you can toast the bread and crumble it up either way, and again, soak it in the liquid. So if you are crunching up crackers, or I've even had college kids use like Doritos, corn flakes, whatever kind of crunchy thing you're kind of breaking down, you can throw it in a food processor, or you can just take a Ziploc bag and a rolling pin and pound the heck out of it. So I used panko and milk, like I said, and I'm just going to add that in here. And I also chose an egg, so that's all ready to go. All right, and so the next category of ingredients would be your seasoning. I like to keep things simple. I'm just a kosher salt, black pepper kind of seasoner generally, but if you have any other types of seasonings that you like, feel free to experiment and add what you'd like to it. I'm just going to add some kosher salt in here. And some black pepper. All right. The final category of ingredient is what I call your flavor boosters, and this is where you can really get creative. You can use fresh herbs. You can use, I've got some chopped parsley here, minced parsley. You can add parsley. Rosemary would be nice, like with the lamb. Basil, any fresh thyme, any kind of fresh fresh herbs that you want to chop up. You can add in cheeses. I think the recipe that I have on my website is actually I use blue cheese crumbles in that one. Today with the turkey, I chose to use some grated Parmesan. So I'm going to toss that in. And then crumbled bacon is nice. I'm not going to put that in here with the turkey, but I do that with the blue cheese. You can put in a splash of wine to boost the flavor. You can use vegetables, minced onion, minced garlic, and those can go in either raw or sauteed. I have some minced onion here that I sauteed in butter because I like the sweetness that sauteing brings out in the onion versus the sharpness in a raw onion. So I've got minced onion, and that's your categories. So you can see that there's a lot of opportunity to get creative with the kind of things that you want to put into your meatballs. So when you're starting to put this together, you can use your hands. I usually start with a fork. One thing that you want to do if you've got your hands in the meat, or when we go to make the meatballs, is you don't want to overwork the meat. You don't want to really squish it hard and put a lot of pressure on it, because that's going to make your meatball tough as well. You just want to kind of lightly toss it. And then when you're forming the balls, we're also going to be kind of gentle with it. So now at this point, I'm a big proponent for tasting everything that you are going to serve to people. You want to know if you've got this meatball mixture seasoned properly before you go ahead and make out 50 meatballs and then bite into one and realize that, oh, that was way too salt, that was not enough salt, or I didn't like this in it. You can't fix it. So I'm not going to do this today just in the interest of time, but normally I would take a small amount of this and make a nice little patty and then fry it up on the stove and taste it before I proceed. So at this point, I'm going to go across to the sink and get my hands slightly damp, and that's going to help me when I'm forming the meatballs not to get all that fat stuck to my hands. So I'll be right back. All right, so I think you can see this. So I'm going to use about a tablespoon and a half. Just depends on how big you want your meatballs. And you're just going to kind of cup it in your kind of damp palms and just roll them. And that's about that size. If you care about having them all exactly the same size, you can use like a cookie scoop to portion out the amount that you want. I don't usually get that picky about it. So, and there's basically what you're doing. I had this baking sheet prepared ahead of time with the parchment on it. At this point, once you get all your meatballs on there, I'm not going to do all 30 or 40 meatballs for you, but you can cook these on the stove, either pan fry them, or my favorite is baking them in the oven, because then the entire sheet goes in, all the meatballs get done at the same time, and the cleanup is with the parchment on here, the cleanup's real easy. You just slide it all into the garbage can. Another option at this point would be to freeze these meatballs, and then you have them in there in the once they're hard, you take them off the sheet pan and you put them in a freezer container, and they're available for you on a busy night when you want meatballs. You can also bake them or cook them on the stove and then freeze them after. They freeze really well. So this is something that I teach college kids, and it would, is equally well for working people who need a fast meal sometimes. So that's pretty much meatballs. The recipe, though. The recipe you can find on my website. It's floridakellskitchen.com, and there's two ways you can get that. It's you can either go up to the top corner and make a member account, and that's like the portal into all of the recipes for my different cooking classes. Or something new that I've added down at the bottom of the website, there's a block where you can sign up to be on an email list. I've only ever sent one email out so far, so don't worry that your inbox is going to get flooded or anything like that. I don't have time to keep up with that kind of thing. But if you do sign up via the email, just check your junk, because sometimes that I've found that my emails are going into junk folders. And I think that's about all I wanted to share with you. Just while you're on my website, check out some of my classes. There's not much on there right now because everything's canceled, but I did experiment with video conferencing, and so I have a kids class right now, and that's a short one, a simple thing to do, and then I have a more advanced class, takes a little more time, and kids don't have the attention span for that. It would be more appropriate for someone older. And as I'm converting some of my normal classes to this video format, it takes a little bit of working. I'm going to be putting more up on the website. So I think that's about it until tune in next Friday. I'm going to try this again, and otherwise, stay well.